What we know as Kisumu molasses plant was known as Kenya Food and Chemical Corporation Limited. It was started in 1977 during Mzee Jomo Kenyatta's time. When it was started, it continued well, on and off, until it stopped at an unknown date. Then it was revived again in 1981. When it was revived in 1981, it stopped again in 1983. Then when it stopped in 1983, it started again in 1987. Or can we say it 1988? Because the cabinet approved its restarting on 3rd November 1987, where it was given to a company called BAK, which was by Iragi and Braina. And it continued that way, until later on, around 1990s, when it was sold to Spectra Company. During that time, the Minister for Industry was Robert Ouko, and the Minister for Energy was Biwott. You find that the molasses plant was a cross-cutting parastatal. It was in the industry because it was an industry, and it was also an energy producing company. So you find that both Ouko and Biwott had interest in it. Other interest that the two had was that Ouko was interested in it for political purposes. Many politicians would want industries in their areas and also for their people to be employed. I said that in 1987 November, it was given to Iragi and Braina for the company BAK. But then again, that company was fronted by Ouko. But then there was somebody whose name was Tony. The second name, it sounds like Texas, so let us call him Tony Texas. He was a South African Portuguese. He was a Portuguese, but from South Africa. He also wanted this company, and he was being fronted for by Biwott. And the company that he had created, which was to run the factory, the Kisumu molasses plant, had also a history with the Sierra Leone diamond. You remember that we used to have something that was called diamond for guns. They send there the guns and they are given diamonds. So you can see that Biwott was associating himself with a company that was selling guns to Kinafode Sanko Huko. When they were asked, they said no. They refused. And so it was run by Aragi and Braina, BAK. It continued that way until when Ouko died. So that is how Ouko and Biwott were fighting. The reason that Biwott gave Moi that you want to be overthrown, it had more to do with this. It also had to do with the power plant and at Koru. So this company continued that way under Iragi and And then when Ouko died, you know, some of these things continue because of the political, uh, extension. So after it won the the contract, it was immediately sold to a South African company, and then the South African company later joined together with what do you call? That is, I'm talking of the company Kisumu molasses plant became bankrupt after Ouko died, and when he died, it was sold to Spectre during the 1997. You remember in 1997, the National Development Party, NDP, cooperated with KANU, and later they merged. So on the political front, NDP was joining together with KANU to form cooperation. But on the trade side, uh, the company called Spectre joined together with a South African company, another South African company, where they became owners of the Kisumu molasses plant. And the Kisumu molasses plant was sold to Spectre without the land, the machinery only. The machinery only, meaning that Kisumu molasses plant, if Spectre has to claim it, then they have to go there, take everything, the machinery, whatever, the vehicles, the whatever. If they want to bring down the houses, but the land was not theirs. I'll say this: if they would have wanted the land, even today, it's just very simple. Bring land valuers, put everything into consideration. What is the price then? What is the price there? We have stayed here for long. We have invested in this. We have done what? That one you need a specialist in a land economist would come up with a figure and sell it to Spectre company. But they have not done it, and they can afford, and they have refused. But what was sold to Spectre was only everything in it except land. Or if you want to push it further, they were sold the small land that the factory is there. You see, for every sugar company, we have a nuclear area, an area that surrounds it, which makes sure that it supplies most of its sugar cane. So what we can say is that over 90% of the value of that place has not been paid. It is Moi just gave it to Spectre. And then when Spectre bought it through a public auction in the 1990s, coincidentally at the time when NDP was having a cooperation with KANU, there was public buying of shares. There was public buying of shares, where those days people used to go around with the receipt books and you buy a share, and it happened mostly around Kisumu town. Remember, Ouko was killed because of that in 1990, and it was given out to Spectre for a song 5 or so years later. And so members of the public were told, this is your company, you buy shares. They bought shares. They still have those receipts. I don't know how much it was being sold. It was 50 shillings then. Imagine 50 shillings for all those years. We have never had an AGM. We have never had share giving out, so on and so forth. That was the first public contribution. Then towards 2000, 2001 and 2002, especially 2002, after Moi had shown that he was not going to hand over the party and the government to other people, Raila led a mass walkout from KANU, which people said it was jogo ilimeza tingatinga na tingatinga ikararua maini ya jogo. They underwent 4 court cases between that 1 year. As I said, there was no single AGM for that company from 1998 to now. This is 26 years later, no single AGM, no single dividends paid. Then there was a story going around that because Raila had led a walkout, from KANU, mass walkout. Moi wanted to take him to court, and then there was another, around 2002, there was another contribution around Kisumu, where everybody was contributing 20 shillings to assist Spectre Company to win the case. And like all political cases, and especially after NAC went to power, the new government had no interest in taking Spectre to court. Kisumu molasses plant was sold to Rai Plywood of Kabras Sugar at 7 billion shillings. Remember, the company that won through Spectre was South African. Immediately, they were given Kisumu molasses plant. The company went bankrupt. So the whole Kisumu molasses belonged to Spectre. And when it belonged to Spectre, much later, you can only see there that the South African company was just brought in as a utility vehicle. Immediately the contract was won, it went bankrupt, and so Spectre had it whole. When Spectre had it whole, it continued that way, and it was later sold to Rai Plywood for 7 billion shillings. The Kisumu person who contributed twice, who contributed for shares and who contributed for court cases, I do not have evidence of him or her getting dividends at all at